Moving my hair out of the way, I'm getting started by going into this Morphe 35O palette and using this brown copper shade and basically using it as a base and transition color, placing it in my upper crease area right below my brow bone and just blending it out and blending as much as possible and using that for the start of this look. I like to start my looks with a kind of neutral transition color, so that's what I'm doing here. And just blending and blending, making sure there are not any harsh lines because that is not cute. You do not want to look messed up. Going into this Zulu palette by Juvia's Place, I'm going to use this pink shade. It's kind of like a burnt pink, is how I describe it. And I'm just packing it on my eyelid. And for me, this was not doing what it needed to do. I needed something that would just show up a little bit more on my little brown skin tone. So I hopped into this Masquerade palette by Juvia's Place as well. And this pink right here that I'm using just pops a little bit more for what I wanted and the look that I was trying to achieve. So I'm just continuing to pack that onto my eyelid. Same thing, making sure I am not going too high to where I'm basically overpowering that transition color and just stacking this pink on top of it. So I'm keeping it just below to where there's enough of both colors showing. Going back into this Zulu palette, I'm using that burnt pink that I was using earlier, and I'm placing it in the center of my eyelid area, kind of creating an ombre look to where it starts with a more vibrant pink on the outer corner, and then it gets lighter as you go in. So that's what I'm doing here, just blending those two together. And going back into the Morphe 35O palette, I'm using these two tan shades that I'm pointing to and just adding that to my outer crease area and kind of feathering it out and blending it in. I start off by packing it first and then I blend as I go. So that's what you see me doing right here. And I realized this was too light too. This was not doing it for me. So I was like, let's try it. And then I'm like, not quite what I was doing. So here I am in the Masquerade palette. And I'm using these two brown shades that I pointed to. Just packing it into that outer crease area. And blending it to where some of that pink still shows up. But there's enough brown to show some dimension to the look that I'm doing. Getting a clean brush, I'm just using that and blending out the edges because I like to use the same brush as much as I can, but for just to make sure it's not too muddy, I did use that to blend it out. Going back into this Masquerade palette, I'm going to use this copper shimmer shade because I was going to a ball and I wanted to pop with something, but I didn't want it to be like too much. So I was like, I'm just going to do some shimmer shades. And that's what I'm doing right here, just adding shimmer on top of those colors, placing it in the center of my eyelid and making sure not to go too high, just enough to where it kind of covers it up. It doesn't completely hide the color, but it just makes it more of like a shimmer effect to it. Going into this Saharian palette by Juvia's Place, I'm adding another copper shade on top of the one that I was using earlier and just continuing to pack and blend as I go. And that's basically just what I'm doing here, just packing onto it, blending it out. And then at some point, I think it's right here, I go back into the Saharian palette and I use this pink shimmer shade. And I bring that closer inward to my eye and just making sure that ombre effect is still going from where it's like light and then it gets darker as you go out. Going back into the Morphe palette, I'm going to use this. It's like a cream shimmer shade is how I can describe it, I guess. I'll point to it in a second right here. And I'm just using that and I'm placing it closer inward, close to my tear duct, and just kind of blending that out and packing and blending as I go. I feel like it created like a light start and then just transition out. And then I added some more from this cream shade and I just packed that on top of it. Then now I'm back in the Saharian palette. There's like a black shade in here. It's not like really black, but I just used it to add a little bit more dimension, because while the browns were cute, I wanted it a little darker, so I just used that and blended it out at the edges of my crease. And from there, I think I was pretty much, yeah, okay, so I just grabbed my brush and I just feather it out using the one that has the pink eyeshadow on it. I just feathered out that black eyeshadow. This e.l.f. product, it just adds a pop to like any shimmer shade. Like I usually put it over it because it just makes it pop so much more. And like I said, I was going to a ball, so I was trying to be like, oh, look at me, cute. Here I'm just doing my eyeliner. I'm speeding through it because the focus was more so my eyeshadow than anything else in this video. And for time's sake, I feel like I've done my eyeliner a lot. So skipping through that. Going back into the Masquerade palette, I'm using a brown shade and I'm just placing it right below my waterline. That way I have the shadows that I use on top, below as well, just blending that out. And then going back into this pink shade from the same palette, placing that more so in the center below my waterline and blending that out. I poked myself in the eye a few times. If you could see, I was blinking like, y'all probably was like, girl, can this girl see? Just adding some mascara, and like I said, I'm just gonna zoom through the rest of this because I've done it a bunch of times and this wasn't about like doing my face, lashes, or any of that. It was just mainly the eyeshadow. So right here, I added some white eyeliner and I was like, girl, you are not going to a costume party. So I put brown eyeliner over it to fix it, and that was way better. Just putting on my highlighter. I was rushing. I was really rushing at this point because like I literally had to be at this ball and I was like getting ready last minute. So here I am. I look like I belong to somebody, like I'm someone's child. And I was on my way out the door. Like I literally finished filming this and I was gone. Thank you guys for watching. That's it.